And we are live. Happy Tuesday evening, everybody. Okay, here we go. All right, so for this evening, just so you know, we have all of the usual culprits are here: the pencil, the drinking straw, the room temperature water, and for other demonstration purposes, more room temperature water. Okay, so wanted to say a couple things. Um, I'm gonna focus mostly on voice this evening, although I did want to talk about some thoughts that I've had in as far as movement for the actor in ways that I know I've said this before, but just the challenges that we're having trying to teach movement for the actor in on Zoom or YouTube or Twitch or whatever. Um, but I did have some thoughts about this that I wanted to talk about, and and I'll demonstrate as we go along. Um, but, in as far as generally speaking, for actors, if you are if we're talking about the subject of movement for actors, I think it boils down to just a few things. Um, Breathing. That sounds obvious, but breathing exercises, and I do these a lot when we talk about voice, for obvious reasons. Because if you're speaking well, if you're singing well, it's because you're breathing well. Also, if you are moving well, um, and if you were moving well, and also if you are able to kind of cope with anything like any kind of stage fright you may be having, any kind of anxiety in a casting or in a performance, if you were able to control your breath, if you're able to do some basic breathing exercises, it goes so far in helping the entire process of an actor. I mean, frankly, it helps the entire process of being a human being in this society. Now, another thing, this sounds obvious, and it's for voice, it certainly is, but to stay hydrated, water. No caffeine. I mean, certainly you can have caffeine. Caffeine is my very dear friend these days, by the way, but you do need to stay hydrated. And if you are feeling thirsty, you're already starting in the dehydration process. Um, and the mistake a lot of people make when it comes to that is they think that they can just chug a lug a big glass of water and they'll be hydrated. That's not really how it works. The water does not really get into your system. It doesn't get into your cell structure or anything like that by just chug-a-lugging water. You're gonna drink, and a little bit is gonna get into you, and the rest you're gonna go use the restroom. You have to be drinking water really continually all day. Um, that's for the voice. That's for your thought process becomes so much clearer when you are well hydrated. Um, now some other things. Um, as far as movement for the actor, balance is really a good key one. That's if you have good balance, that means that you can move well, you can walk well, you can just if y'all have never really done any kind of like blocking exercises in acting or anything like that, you're doing basically things like this. You're not really gonna turn around and turn your back to an audience or anything like that. Um, you tend to do things where it's like you tend to pivot a lot. And I know you can't see my feet, but you would tend to, in the course of a scene, do things like you're going to walk across stage, then you're going to turn and then maybe back away, and there's a thing called cheating when in actors blocking. That's basically if there's a scene going on in back of me and the audience is out here, that I am actually focused out here, but my attention is on the fellow actor or the scene going on in back of me. And in order to have your focus back here, for example, but your performance is being delivered out here and you're having to move while you are doing this, you need to be able to pivot. You need to be able to keep your face out to the audience, or you stay in profile, or you do such things as that. And there's a lot of like semicircular sort of movements, and you need to have some kind of a good sense of balance if you're going to sort of pull off those kind of little dance steps, basically. The other thing I'll say also, flexibility. You don't have to do the full splits. You don't have to do full back bends or any of that stuff. Personally, I've practiced yoga for about 30 years, and the thing I will say, um, as far as flexibility for the actor, first of all, just on a practical note, the more flexible you are, the less chance you have of becoming injured if you have any sort of an accident, if you fall or anything like that. Um, but tying in with that, um, flexibility and also core strength. Okay, you don't need to have six pack abs or anything like that necessarily, but to do whatever movements you need to do as an actor, particularly if you're going to be working on stage, because your movements, if you're in front of a large audience, you have to do things, generally speaking, larger. If you are doing things in front of a camera, chances are they're going to be smaller. They're going to be more direct. That depends on how close or far away the camera is to you. But you do need to have that sense and the ability to take these moves and focus them. And however big or small these moves need to be, you need to have a sense of that, and you need to know how to control that. And if you have got good core strength, which we get when we do breathing exercises, when we do voice exercises, it's a natural core strengthener. But because you're doing a performance, it's not like real life, and things do get altered, things do get switched around, and things like that. And you do need to have the flexibility and the strength in order to do that. Um, so practice your flexibility, and I'll do a couple of things to show this later. Um, and lastly, a sense of rhythm. You don't need to be a dancer. You don't need to be a musician. If you are, fantastic. But a sense of rhythm in that, when you're doing your scenes, when you're doing your monologues or whatever, um, they go at a certain pace. Some scenes are going to be faster than others. You're going to speak louder, and you're going to speak quicker, and you're going to do all. And then some scenes are going to be more legato, more adagio, and um, have not done this much with the acting out studios, but I can remember one of my instructors from back in the day. um, we would be practicing our monologues, and she would be sitting in the front row, and then she'd say, okay, do do your monologue according to the rhythm that I'm going to clap out. And she would sit there and go, okay. You can hear me. Thank you. Um, so a sense of rhythm is very important. Also, if you do get into scenes where you have to do things like you have to dance or something like that, you don't need to be expert, but you do need to have a sense of rhythm, of staying on a beat. Um, some sort of to do some sort of rhythmic movement and do it in time. So that's what I think as far as what I wanted to say about just movement for the actor. So that's some food for thought. So as we go, so we're going to do some voice exercises and some warm ups, and as we go through this, I'll sort of point out kind of the points that I'm trying to make as far as those what I consider to be some essential components of um, points of attention for movement for the actor. So. For the record, my voice is totally not warmed up at all. I'm coming at you right now after working about a 9.5 hour shift. It's now 7:30 at 7:40, I guess, at night right now. I've been up since you don't want to know when. Trust me, it was pretty early, and it was in work at actually 5:30 this morning. And something that you do have to consider as you are acting is it would be really nice if we could just do nothing but act, but that's not really how it works most of the time. So you do have to check in with yourself and have some kind of sense of, how much energy do I have? How tired am I? How awake am I? Right now I'm sensing I've got a little bit of like tiredness in my voice because I'm feel like I'm tending to like, dip more into like a baritone register right now. So what I'm doing, I am drinking the water. And basically what you have to do is kind of get a sense when you go into your performance, where are you? Where did you come from prior to this? And, that exercise about what happened 10 seconds before, 10 minutes before, 10 hours, 10 days before. Okay, same thing, except you're going into your performance. And if you've had a long day like I have, I am not quite frankly ready to just, go run any kind of marathon. I've got to take some time with myself tonight to get myself to a place, physically and vocally, to where I can perform. If I just jump right into it, it's like any other sport. It's like any other physical activity. If you don't warm up prior to it, you take a big chance of hurting yourself. So that being said, as we usually do, to start with this, we start with breathing and just go to start. Just let's just go in through our nose for a count of four and then out through our mouth for a count of four. So, and basically kind of put your feet at about shoulder width apart, put your hands over your belly button, and imagine that you are breathing in through your belly button, and then just and I'm going to make a very gentle hum on an M sound. So, mm, mm, mm. And now I'm going to very gently just drop my jaw and let I'm going to start with an M sound, then I'm going to let an ah sound follow that. So it's ah, ma, ma. And right now, as I'm doing this, I am consciously trying to relax. I'm not trying to force out a big "no" or any of that stuff. I'm trying to consciously put out a very relaxed vowel sound. So go ahead and do that with a couple of other vowels. Me. The only place I should really be feeling any kind of tension right now is around the diaphragm area, around the lower like the just kind of like if you don't know where the diaphragm is, where your ribs sort of come up into like an upside down V. That's actually where the diaphragm is, and you sort of like feel it, going up and down from that level. So my Mo. And as I'm doing this, I'm listening to myself and I'm listening for any kind of like a sound of like constriction or tension or anything like that. And that's just as I'm listening to this, I'm just trying to relax as much as possible, tuning into the sound of my own voice. So, um, as we usually do around this time, we'll do some things like so just to get the tension out of your body, just to get, and particularly out of your vocal instrument, your speech instrumentation, or whatever fancy term the voice coaches are using for it these days. Uh, Tip of the tongue to the back of the bottom teeth, and you push the back of the tongue forward. Uh, Make some kind of vowel sounds when you do this. My, Blah, blah. And then if you can do this, and some people can and some people can't, but if you can or can't do it, the objective is to at least try, but you take your tongue and roll it into a straw, and then just take a minute or two right now, and then just in and out through your mouth, and you may even want to hold your nose to make sure that you're not no air's coming out of your nose. Breathe in and out only through the rolled tongue. And again, if you can't do this, that's cool. Just attempt to get your tongue into that position. So, and of course, as we always say, doing voice exercises, and the more you do them and the more we progress into it this evening, the more I'm going to look like a raving lunatic. And if you're doing the voice exercises also, you're going to look like a raving lunatic. So, now let's take those two and put it together and push the tongue out. Inhale and then exhale. Uh, uh, hmm. Now take either the heels of your hands, or you can take your fingers and massage up at the point where your jaw connects to your skull, where that hinge sort of happens, and then get right on that hinge and just massage, and then sort of bring your jaw, take the heels of your hands and bring your jaw down the hair, and just stretch it out. Just give it a massage and then a stretch, and then um, add some sound to it. But this time, rather than an M sound, make an NG sound. Okay, and then as you open your mouth, just let some vowel sounds come out, and again, just relaxed. So on an NG. Mm, no. Mm, oh. No. And now we do big face, little face, big face, little face, big face, little face, big face, little face. And let's put some sound behind that on an NG. Mm, ah, mm, ah, and take a big yawn and stretch, and then okay, do that again. And when you make the sound at the end, have it as if you were carrying like some big heavy like a suitcase or some big heavy bag or something like that, and you just like set it down. So big yawn and stretch. Ah, and a big yawn and stretch. Ah, and one more time. Ah. And now, in keeping with the voice exercises making you look like a raving lunatic theme, we're going to shake a little bit. To start with your hands, and the whole idea is to gradually work up to where it's like you're doing like a full body shake, and when you get the full body shake, that is when you want to make sure that you're breathing very freely in this, and then as you get to where your whole body is shaking, that's when you want to start opening your mouth and making some vowel sounds. So, and it goes like this. And then inhale slowly as you possibly can. When you get to the end of your inhale, have your hands be overhead, and then exhale as you go down, and make that exhale last for however long it takes to get your hands down. This should be a coordinated movement. Just do one inhale and exhale. And the idea is to coordinate the more. Can you so the idea is to coordinate the however long the duration of your inhale is and however long the duration of your exhale is. Coordinate that with your movement. Just inhale, 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 inhale. At the end of the inhale, hands are up all the way at the top. And then as you exhale, and this is all in and out through the nose, go down. Okay. And as you do this, just notice however long that takes you to get up here and then get down there, and then try to slow it down a little bit. So this is sort of like recalibrating your breathing. This is if you were short of breath, if you were any of that, um, if you were hyperventilating, if you were finding yourself, getting kind of choked up or raspy or your breath was constricted, use this to sort of restore the equilibrium of it and just and I'm gonna go a little bit longer this time. And one more time a little bit longer. Okay. And water break. All right. So okay, to start doing some actual, voice exercises, a good thing to warm up on is it's "na ga," but you put physical movements to it, and this is where I like to come back, when I'm talking about flexibility and balance for the actor. You can use this voice exercise and, actually, um, put some physical movement behind it, and so you're actually working on your voice at the same time as you were working on your movement, particularly your balance. And it's na ga. And what I'm gonna do with these 2 movements is first I'm gonna use the upper body, and I'm gonna punch to one side and the other, and I'm going to intentionally cross over the center line of my body. And there's a reason for this that I'll tell you about after. But you go basically sort of start, get your just kind of get a little bit of a bend in your knee, um, feet about shoulder width apart, and maybe slightly more than shoulder width. And you start it and just go, nah, come back to center, ga, na, 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 ga. And what's happening in this is like as I'm turning like this, that turn is coming from the diaphragm. It's coming from the area of the diaphragm. So that area is being activated physically as you are doing the rotating. The other thing, and I'll see if we can do this here. Basically, this is for balance, and we're going to do naga also. But basically, you sort of kick and you go across the center line of your body. And the kicks don't have to be high. And I better move my music stand over here. I'm gonna trash the joint. But anyway, and it's na ga na ga. Now put your hands up. And now, if you can put your hands on your hips. That's fine. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more balance wise, put your hands up on your shoulders like so, or on your hips. Either one is fine. But na ga na ga na ga na ga na ga na ga. And as you're doing that, you are you are practicing your balance. The moves are coming from the center of your body, which is where your diaphragm comes from, or rather, that's where your diaphragm is located, and you're able to get a good range of movement so that you're practicing some flexibility exercises. This will help you when you are doing blocking specifically, for stage and camera, and you don't move like you normally would in life. So when you have to do things like, and a lot of the movements, if you're in a scene and you've got two people here, you would be doing things like speaking to one person this way and then one person that way, and the whole movement of the blocking to do the scene, you would be doing this rather than cutting yourself off from the audience or from the camera. Let's see. And water break. All right. I want to practice some vowel sounds. Um, and actually, the vowel sounds that I'm going to do three in particular. Um, these particular these next three vocal exercises actually come from a thing called polyphonic singing. And that in polyphonic basically means you're producing more than one tone at a time. And that's a real art. I am no expert whatsoever in that, but I do practice polyphonic exercises and stuff like that just to see what else I can do with my voice. And just as an aside, apparently, it said one of the things that made Freddie Mercury of Queen such a tremendous vocalist, if you're a fan of Queen and you know what I'm talking about, he had a pretty big overbite. So he was singing just using normal techniques. However, because of the shape of his mouth and his teeth and the overbite and just the shape of his jaw, what happened was he was actually producing one sound from the diaphragm and the chest cavity and in the in the back of the throat and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, when it was coming out of his mouth, because of the peculiar or not peculiar, but the particular shape of his mouth, um, he would get one sound here, but simultaneously another sound was coming out here, and he was sort of a natural polyphonic singer. If you all know anything about throat singing or, any of that sort of thing, this is where this comes from. This is a whole thing. And again, I am no master of this whatsoever, but I do want to share this because this is where these next three exercises come from. So, all right, all right. The first one is la la ye, la la you. And the idea of these next three is that you start off at a certain pace, you start off at a certain rhythm, and then you accelerate the rhythm. And as you get to a point as you accelerate, you're actually making two sounds simultaneously. I'm not sure if I can create that, but this is the idea. So la la ye, la la you. 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 La la li. La la ye, la la you. 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 La la li, la la you. La la li, la la you. La la ye, la la you. La la ye, la la you. La la ye, la la you. La la li, 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 la la you. That's a workout. Um, the other one is luddle laddle. Luddle laddle. Luddle laddle 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 luddle. And then you basically just do it until you go so fast that you just tongue trip yourself. But but if you practice these three, you can actually start to develop the polyphonic, like, multiple note production. Is you're producing the two tones at the same time simultaneously, and when you get it and when you hear it back, it's really cool. But it's luddle laddle 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 laddle. And the last one is ya ya ye, ya ya you. Ya ya ye, ya ya you, 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 ya ya ye, ya ya you. All right, and now if you do that enough, you'll start to feel that that your whole respiration system is working quite a lot. Um, Something I want to talk about breath control or just breathing in general is brought this guy up before the whole thing of straw phonation, and there's so much that goes with the practice of straw phonation, but just for the purpose of tonight, um, when I'm talking about breathing and control of your breath and the breathing exercises, one of the things you can do with a straw. And again, there's a ton of things you can, you know. Okay. The point of this, one thing is get a glass of water, take your straw, and put the straw into the water, and then try to then blow air through the straw, but try to make as few bubbles as is possible. And this can be a challenge, because most people are going to sit there and go, try to continuously blow a stream of air, creating as few bubbles as is possible, and see how long you can do it for. And let me just a word of caution on this: don't push yourself to the point where you start to get short of breath or hyperventilating, or you make yourself lightheaded or dizzy, which you can do when you start doing breathing exercises. So please take care with that. But it would go something like this. that, that can be quite challenging. That can be quite challenging. But the thing that's cool about it is there's so much, when you start working with the voice and, doing the breathing and all that sort of a thing, you actually, that gives you an actual visual representation of how much air you can control. So you actually have a point of reference. It's not just, air going out into creating sound and air going and sound going out into the world. You can actually see how much air you're blowing, and that's a really good exercise for that. So, um, let's see. Okay. And I want to, okay, I want to do two things, and then we're gonna call it an evening. Um, I've done these before. If you had me in class before, we do these very old school articulation exercises. Now we've done enough vowels, so I want to do some consonants. Um, and notice how the pencil's coming out. These are tippet, pippet, tutica, buddy-gudda, red leather, yellow leather, hold your vowels, a loud sound, a round tone. So tippet, pippet, tippet, pippet, tippet, pippet, tippet, pippet. Tutica, 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 tutica. Buddy-gudda, 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 buddy-gudda. And you notice I'm doing this thing called the mechanical voice assistant. Sort of, I'm sort of conducting myself is what I'm doing. Um, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Hold your vowels. A loud sound, a round tone. Hold your vowels. A loud sound, a round tone. Hold your vowels. A loud sound, a round tone. And since we've done that so well, here comes the pencil. And if you've never seen this before, you take a pencil, stick it in your mouth. This is an old radio announcer's trick, and it basically it sort of like physically resets um, all of your vocal mechanisms, your larynx, your back of your throat. You stick the pencil in your mouth. Imagine that whatever words you're saying, that they are coming over the top of the pencil. All right, and then we go in back into, and this is old school actors voice articulation exercises. Pencil in the mouth. Tip it, pivot, 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 tip it, pivot. Inhale. Tatika, 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 tatika. Tatika, 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 tatika. Inhale. Buddy gutta, buddy gutta, buddy gutta, buddy gutta, buddy gutta, buddy gutta, buddy gutta. Inhale. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Okay. Hold your vowels. A loud sound, a round tone. Hold your vowels. A loud sound, a round tone. Hold your vowels. A loud sound, a round tone. And the last thing I want to do, and again, this is again very old school um, actors training, actors voice training, radio announcers training, the tongue twisters. And if you are interested in doing this, I should put a link to uh, so you guys can find the tongue twisters if you're interested in doing this. But I would tell you, do a Google search for tongue twisters, and in about half a second, you've got a bazillion tongue twisters. So it's actually very easy to find. So And this is the stuff Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, a peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Betty Butter bought bum butter. She said the butter's bitter. If she if I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter will make my batter better. So 'twas better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter. Ugh. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could as it and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. She sells seashells by the seashore. Again, the pencil. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? And notice how I've got my hand on my diaphragm here because this really does take some focus upon your breath if you're going to make these sounds come out as they should. So, Betty Butter bought bum butter. She said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter will make my batter better. So 'twas better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? He would as much as he could and chuck as much wood as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood and she sells seashells by the seashore. So, that being said, I think I'm gonna call it an evening here. Um, please let me just in closing, let me just say if I appreciate everybody's attention and all of y'all who are subscribing to this, thank you so much. It's really nice to know that I'm just not standing here and in a vacuum talking to myself. It is very cool, and I thank you guys for subscribing and paying the attention. If I hope the information is valuable, I hope it is useful, and want to say we have a lot going on during the evenings this week, so I tend to think the next one of these I'm going to do maybe this coming Sunday. Um, it looks like Sunday, December 19th, somewhere in the afternoon. And actually, um, I want to use actually part of the opportunity in that um, to kind of demonstrate how the voice it changes during the course of the day. I mean, as I said, this was kind of a long day for me. It's toward the end of the day right now. I'm interested to try doing these same exercises when I have had more sleep. It's earlier in the day, and just compare and contrast how my voice and my movement are doing with the time of day because it changes for everybody. How you sound and how you move at 8 o'clock in the morning is not necessarily how you're going to sound and move at 8 o'clock at night, and you need to have a sense of that. You need to have some kind of a presence of mind um, as to how this whole instrument of yours and mine changes during the course of the day. um, so on that note, I just want to thank y'all for hanging out, and please share this information with anybody who you think would find this beneficial, and if it helps, I am very happy to provide it. So on that note, my friends, I'm going to wish you a very lovely and blessed evening, and I'm going to sign off now with all my love, all my gratitude. Be well. See you soon. Bye. And end stream.